Hey folks, walk with me. I have taken a break recently from diet and exercise, and it's starting to catch up with me. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why I did it and how I'm trying to reapproach. I literally just today, about an hour before recording this, started a new workout program. And I'm simultaneously trying to make adjustments to my current eating habits, which is just eat whatever. So I noticed about maybe 2 months ago how skewed my relationship with diet and exercise has been, and I can trace it back pretty far. And so I'll talk about all of that. It's very particular to me, but just in case it sort of sets off a light bulb in anyone's head or sounds familiar to anyone, maybe it gives you something to maybe consider. It certainly might not apply to you, but in any case, I have developed for probably a very long time a pretty unhealthy relationship with diet and exercise, and this certainly goes back to my formative years in even elementary school, but certainly up through high school, as I was a 3-sport athlete. So I played football in the fall, I wrestled in the winter, and I played baseball in the spring. And I was on the starting team for all of those sports, and had been so sometimes, prior to even being in 11th grade. So on wrestling and baseball, I was brought up to the varsity team in 10th grade. And actually, I was also brought up to the varsity football team in 10th grade for the postseason. So when the JV season was done, they would bring up folks that they wanted in case anything went sort of sideways injury-wise. They would have extra bodies if needed. So I was one of those. But I used to, for all of those years, I would spend all summer getting up to 250 pounds. So I'm 6'2", and I would get up to 250 pounds because I was our center on the offensive line. And so that would be my focus all summer, packing on, strength and weight and weightlifting and all that jazz. I think when I was a junior, was the first time I was able to bench 315. And so we were a very big, very strong team. And so to keep up with that, I was the lightest person on the offensive line. And so I would play the football season at about 250. However, I then wrestled. Wrestling, you have weight classes. And so you have to make weight or you cannot participate. And so my weight class was 215. So I'd go from 250 to 215 over the course of like a few weeks, usually. And I remember, one of the more challenging times, I spent a week or 2 weeks just having celery and water while going to like practice and everything. And obviously that's not a great experience to impose on yourself, but the mindset was basically, this is one of the most important things in my life, and we're very high functioning, powerful teams. Like all of those teams were really good. We were just a very strong sports school at that point. And so I'd go down, and wrestling is its own screw with you in your concept of weight and eating and exercise thing. And I had been wrestling since I had been in 2nd grade. And so it was a lot, for sure. And then I would sort of put on a little bit of weight, maybe to about 230 or so during the baseball season, because I was a pitcher and it didn't really matter if I was sort of like putting on weight a little bit, again, to start to get toward that 250 that was the goal for the start of the football season. So fast forward through all of that. I don't play sports in college because I was just done with it. I was looking for a different path. But, you know, having been steeped in it for so long, like, exercise at least still felt important to me. And I became a personal trainer my senior year of college. I spent much of college playing in, like, volleyball leagues, and, you know, I sort of shifted to that. And then when I graduated college, you know, my job out of college was personal training, and I did that then for 5 years following graduating. And so obviously there I was heavily steeped in that as well. You know, how this has sort of impacted me lately and why I just sort of like shut everything off a couple of months ago was because, you know, I spent years tracking my calories, meal by meal, day by day. Everything goes in the calorie tracker. And I noticed sort of recently, and maybe I had been doing it for a longer period of time and I just started to notice it, but I started to notice this habit that I was falling into where I would try to burn calories through the exercise, right? So you put the exercise in the calorie counter as well, just in order to be able to eat more stuff. And so there was this constant sort of like game that I was not wanting to play with myself, but that I was unable to stop playing with myself. And it just at some point felt kind of stupid. And so that got tough, and then I sort of started to get injured consistently. Like I actually still right now have an issue with my left knee, and that had developed when I was running a lot. And I would just sort of like try to plow through it, and I would just hobble around, and it's not like I'm competing in an event, right? Not even like a friendly marathon event or something like that. But I would treat it as though I needed to do it. And my shoulder got screwed up at one point, and I kept sort of, you know, training with the push-ups and the pull-ups and the kettlebells. And again, it's just, it gets in my head that you need to do this or you're going to be a disgusting fat blob that's going to feel really crappy and is going to look really crappy, and it's just going to be another sort of thing that makes you sort of repulsive to other people. Honestly, like, that might sound harsh, maybe it doesn't, but if it does sound harsh, like, that's truly sort of how that concept takes shape in my head. You repulsive, lazy, fat creature, you need to do this or it's just gonna get worse, right? And there's no winning in that mindset. There's been very few instances in my adult life where I've felt proud of myself for sort of my physical state. It's just that it's mostly this endless hamster wheel of just trying to not feel awful. And I just realized, like, wow, this is a really screwed up relationship to what is supposed to be, you know, a way by which to improve your health, feel better for longer, so on and so forth. And it was just very much becoming not that. It was another thing for me to feel completely beholden to, whether I was sort of in the midst of injury or not. And for me to just incessantly feel bad about, feel that I wasn't as capable as I could or should be, and that was reflected, you know, every time I go past a mirror or every time I'm on camera, that all those things just stand out. And so a couple months ago, I just said, you know what? I have enough other stuff that's kind of preying on my mind and in ways that I want to change, and I can elect out of this. So I did. Now, I'm coming back into it. Like I said, just today, I found a kettlebell workout that was published during COVID, which is good because I'm not going to go to a gym and all that jazz. And I prefer to train with kettlebells at home. And it's simple. It's not super time intensive. It's straightforward. And I'm just going to start with that and see how it goes. Plus, I would like to get out and do some additional like running. Like I said, my knee is kind of screwed up. But I just watched a video on slow jogging. And I didn't realize that there was this book by this like Japanese scientist about it. And so I think I'm going to try that. So I'm not getting back on the calorie counting. What I'm following is the Magnus method. He has a YouTube channel here where he talks about 500 calorie meals, shooting for, I think he says there 30 grams of protein per meal. I probably won't get that, but I'm going to try to stick to the 5 by 500, and I'm just going to use the knowledge that I have from years and years and years of calorie counting and you know, not put it in the app, but still be able to have like a solid concept of, okay, that's like 500 calories. But the smaller meals more frequently I find much more beneficial than like intermittent fasting. That's, for whatever reason, particular to me, a complete disaster. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated if I find any gems. If you've had anything similar to this that's worked for you, I'd love to hear how you handled it, where you are now in the comments. And we'll all kind of work on it together and drop little nuggets of knowledge as we have them along the way. All right, folks. Well, if you did walk with me, speaking of exercise and movement, we're gonna get about 13 minutes in here, lucky 13. And I hope that you are surviving maybe a pretty chaotic period in time if you're here in the US, and that you're making it through okay. All right, folks, no matter what, I will see you in the next video.